was cleared of the central allegation made about me by a Labour Member of Parliament, I hoped that I could stay. But it's become clear to me over the last few days that this has become an enormous distraction.
By distraction, she means this: 7 days of hostile headlines, which began when an inquiry into her expense claims ordered her to stand up and apologise to the Commons, which she did, sort of.
The committee has recommended that I apologise to the House for my attitude to the Commissioner's inquiries, and I, of course, unreservedly apologise.
And that was almost that. 32 seconds later, she sat down and the questions began about her expense claims for this Wimbledon house. She was cleared of the original charge, asking taxpayers to fund it as a home for her elderly parents. But the Standards Committee of MPs asked her to pay back almost £6,000 because she'd failed to cut her mortgage claims when interest rates fell. The Independent Parliamentary Commissioner originally suggested she should pay back much more, £45,000, arguing that she also shouldn't have remortgaged the property. Meantime, the Prime Minister backed his minister again and again.
And I think people should leave it at that. So I think that we should leave it there. I think she should get on with the job of being Culture Secretary, something she does extremely well.
I want to make sure that the situation is clear to everybody, and make sure that I can move on.
What's clear is the country has yet to move on from its fury about MPs' expenses.
It's less than an hour from Westminster, but voters here in Maria Miller's Basingstoke constituency say MPs are living on another planet.
Hot dog, burger, bacon roll for £1 now.
Politicians insist they've cleaned up their act since the scandal over their expenses was first exposed. It's not a message that's got through here.
And they make the rules, and they're the ones that are failing the rules. And like I say, anything like that, if the normal person had done it, we would be locked up. So why is it one rule for them and a different rule for us?
If you're a cabinet minister, you have to be above
well,
reproach.
That is it.
And she isn't.
That's it.
And
it's a different level, isn't it?
And the apology was next to useless, wasn't it?
They're using the rules to their own benefits, really.
And the fact that they've changed them since 2010 doesn't make any difference to you?
I don't think it's made any difference to them.
No longer a minister, Maria Miller could now be spending more time here at her constituency home. Her departure from the cabinet, though, does mean she's entitled to a payoff of just over £17,000.
Well, just some breaking news coming in the last few moments. This from Sean Curran, our parliamentary correspondent down at Westminster. Seems another casualty of this whole affair. We're just looking at a tweet from Conservative MP Michael Fallon, Tory Vice Chairman. He's a fabricant who has tweeted, been asked to resign as Vice Chairman, refused, so sacked over HS2, High Speed 2, and my views on a recent Cabinet Minister. You may remember that Michael Fabricant had tweeted earlier, Maria Miller has resigned, well, about time.
Well, I think this is clearly David Cameron making sure that all his troops are in line, if you like. Michael Fabricant is known for tweeting and being outspoken on many topics, and we have seen on his Twitter account it says that he's been asked to resign as Vice Chairman of the Conservative Party but refused, so he's been sacked over HS2 and what he says, my views on a recent Cabinet Minister. Now, if you look back through that Twitter account earlier in the day, he said, or it said on his Twitter account, note to self, if ever a minister again, be like Mark Harper, if in trouble, resign quickly and in a dignified manner. So it was those outspoken words that I think that have triggered the Conservative Party to think that actually they don't want people sounding off message. They want everyone at the end of this very difficult week as they go off onto their Easter holidays. They're going to be campaigning ahead of the European elections, and they want all their members, and especially those at the top with responsibility, to be on message.
We can be joined now from her constituency of Basingstoke by Nigel Farage, leader of UKIP, of course, who is well, by fortune, one might say, Mr Farage, in her constituency this evening. Tell us, first of all, what you're doing there.
We're doing a public meeting. We're doing hundreds of them all over the country in the run-up to the local elections and European elections on May the 22nd. And it just happens by coincidence we booked this date some time ago.
A rather happy coincidence. What hay might you make while you're there, do you think?
Well, this is a constituency that, like most in southern England, we got 4% in 2010 and came a weak fourth. But in the Hampshire County Council elections last year, in the 5 divisions, county council divisions that make up the Basingstoke constituency, we got 26% of the vote. So we're launching our candidate tonight, who's a local businessman called Alan Stone, who runs an antique shop in town. But clearly, we'll be talking about Maria Miller, expenses, the way the Prime Minister has clung to her over the course of the last week and says he wants her back in the Cabinet as soon as possible. But most of all, what I want to say on this is I was the first elected politician to say on the BBC that I thought we should have the right of recall in this country to give the ultimate power over MPs into the hands of the public. It was an idea that caught on, and the coalition that was formed between Nick Clegg and David Cameron specifically wrote in the agreement they would pave early legislation to give the public the right of recall, and 4 years into this government they have done nothing.
And what do you think is the reason that, as you say, they've done nothing?
Because they made a promise at an election, cynically, in order to try and buy off the voters, in my opinion, without ever intending to deliver on this. And we see this, you know, Miliband today, at question time, didn't raise the issue either. They hope it's gone away. They don't want the voters to have the power to force by-elections, and I'm going to insist tonight that it remains a central part of our general election manifesto next year, and it's something that I think the people of this country really want and deserve.
Let's return specifically to the issue of expenses, because the problem with all of this is that all MPs have taken a pretty cautious line. We've seen Ed Miliband going at the Prime Minister on his judgment rather than on the issue of Maria Miller's expenses per se, because MPs know, and your party among them will know, that no party is completely clean on this issue, and there's been controversy over all the parties about how their members have looked at after their own pockets, as one might say.
Look, human nature is something that isn't going to change, whatever the rules are. People will always look for little loopholes. That, you know, you'll always find individuals that seek to take advantage of any system. The question is, a question for leaders of parties, how do you deal with that when a problem occurs? I had 2 people in the last European Parliament after 2004 who behaved badly on expenses. Before the inquiries had finished, before they were sentenced or anything, I kicked them out of UKIP on the basis that they'd abused the faith of the voters and indeed the faith that we'd given them as a party. And the problem here is we have a Member of Parliament who has used taxpayers' money partially to make a profit of £1 million on a house. That just looks completely wrong to people. And a Prime Minister who doesn't seem to think there's anything wrong with that. And that shows, I think, how totally disconnected he is with British public opinion.
OK, Nigel Farage from UKIP, thanks very much indeed for your time this evening.